And at this point, of course, there's a clear military cooperation between Iran and Russia. This is drones. Iran may be sending more ballistic missiles, but Russia is probably also releasing some of the nuclear technology to Iran. So in that way, it's a very dangerous moment.
Congress is holding up $61 billion of funding to support Ukraine's military in its stalled war against Russia. Some Republicans say they won't allow any money to be sent until Joe Biden does more to sort out America's own illegal immigration problem. Arisya Lutsevich is Deputy Director of the Russia and Eurasia Program at Chatham House, and she joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's very different, isn't it? I know Biden stood next to Zelensky and said, we're going to support you. But if you look back a year, when Zelensky went to America, he was feted. He was given the full red carpet treatment. Money was sloshing around the place and flowing to Ukraine. It does feel a very different US perspective on Ukraine at the moment. Is that true, do you think?
Yes, indeed. And it feels different for two reasons. One is that because US is now all locked into internal political battles, Republicans are trying to do everything to prevent Biden to win. And they somehow hinged on the idea that if Biden succeeds in Ukraine, meaning if Zelensky and his generals succeed on the battlefield, this will give him a boost during the campaign. And second, of course, we had unrealistic expectations, and this was quite, obvious in Washington, where after Ukraine's successful summer and fall counteroffensive, where they've reclaimed 50% of the territory held by the Russians, somehow there was a feeling that with its new assistant package, Kyiv will perform a miracle on Dnipro. It didn't do it. It succeeded more on the Black Sea than actually on the land operation. But here you go. There was disillusionment.
Do you think Zelensky is looking at the calendar next year and saying, well, in November, it's not impossible that Donald Trump will be elected president? It's probably still less likely than not, but it's a possibility. And does he think he's got to get what he can out of a Democrat administration before a Republican one comes along?
It's a possibility. America is still a democracy. We don't know who's going to win, unlike Russia. That is good news. So Ukraine is preparing for Plan B or contingency, and that has been clear since September of this year. If Trump wins, there's a likelihood that, this support may decrease and that he will try to strike some kind of a deal with Putin over Ukraine. That is why Ukraine is trying to put all resources it has to actually develop its own military industrial base, to produce more new technologies such drones, to set up joint stock ventures, both with US companies. The private sector here is actually in the forefront. They are interested in trying out their technology on the battlefield. There aren't that many opportunities where you can test it against the Russians. It's the one.
We spoke to Ukrainians an awful lot over the last couple of years, and they kept talking about winning. We are going to win. We are going to win. Actually, is the answer now, do you think we are going to get a good deal with Russia? Do you think is this ending in a deal in your view?
Well, to my view, it's less likely to end in a deal than with some kind of, Ukrainian victory over the territory still. I do not believe that under current Putin's regime, you can actually negotiate security of Ukraine. He so much hinged his legacy, Putin, on actually expanding Russian state as this imperial conquest. And he is putting Russia on the war footing. He's increasing 70% defense spending. That makes it roughly 6% of GDP. And what are we doing in the West? This is the question.
And also, he's getting closer. He used to be quite a supporter of Israel, Russia, and they're much closer to Iran now, aren't they? So as he's in a war footing in Ukraine, he's a player in another area of conflict, and he's getting closer to Iran year by year.
Well, what is interesting to note is that countries like China, Iran, and Russia, they have an alignment of strategic goals, and that is to push United States out of their respective regions, out of Middle East, out of Eastern Europe, and out of South China Sea. So they are in it together. And at this point, of course, there's a clear military cooperation between Iran and Russia. This is drones. Iran may be sending more ballistic missiles, but Russia is probably also releasing some of the nuclear technology to Iran. So in that way, it's a very dangerous moment.